right, ladies and gents, we'll start with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll have the roll call for the June 13th, 2023 Dublin Town Board meeting held at Dublin Fire Station number 2.
Rick Snyder present.
And Cheney present.
Nathan Ulrich present. We do have a couple members that are missing for personal reasons, so we wish them the best. We do still have to continue with town business though, so we'll keep the ball rolling and especially paying our bills tonight. So we do have a light agenda, but we will take care of everything that's necessary with what we have on board. So, Bob, do we want to go ahead and start with the hearing?
Yeah, there was one thing that did not get on the agenda, but we have proper notice in the paper, and that is the petition for vacation filed by Mr. Doddridge. It was put into the paper, though it's Palladium rather than Western Wayne, because of the timing of that. But you will recall he is here to petition to vacate portions of a certain street and alley, specifically Lincoln Street running north and south between the streets of Harrison and Vine. Number 2, an alley running north and south between the streets of Harrison and Vine. And 3, an alley running east and west between Lincoln Street and a north-south alley. To the extent you want to consider tonight that petition, I have prepared an ordinance for your review that sets out the approval if applicable. And as always, if this is vacated, the drawing, I probably need a better exhibit A. It was hard for me to color that if you're actually sure. But you kind of can see, I've circled it and I've tried to show it in red on that drawing where what we're really talking about there. It's kind of a cross, and then along Lincoln Street as well. That if you do this, it would be subject to any utility easements already in existence. We do point out that the only other adjoining property owner are the Ronald Sutherland and Sherry Sutherland, who I understand have no objection to that. Is that
He's the one that came here with me to do it.
right? And the only thing I wasn't quite sure, Mr. Doddridge, was he does not wish, when you abandon something like this, it's split in half,
yeah.
One side to the other, but I understood he did not, he was allowing you to take all of it.
He said he didn't want anybody.
That's what we show on here. And so, of course, that would add a little property to the tax rolls, because then that does come in under Mr. Doddridge's name. But the reason you would ever consider this is if it was not currently being used for any public purpose, that you have no future anticipation that it'll be used for public purpose. And I think some of this, even though it's platted, is not really physically there, but just still platted as a street and or alley. So I think that's it. And I see the petitioner's here. There may be some things that he might want to add too. And then if there's anybody that has an objection to it, there to give an opportunity. But not seeing anyone in the crowd, I'm not sure there's anyone here to file an objection.
It won't affect anybody. That's why we don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Actually benefit. I'd be able to better maintain it. Possibly do something with it if I ever develop something there. You guys actually tax revenue, you know.
Be it a barn dominium, or a regular house.
Sure.
So,
All right. Any questions from the crowd? Anyone as the public view? Hearing and seeing them?
What number would this be?
4.
4. I'll put that on. And here's the hard copy of it if you guys want to use this as the sign one. If you want anything, then you can each keep your own copy for your own file.
All right. Any thoughts or questions, concerns from the board?
Now I move we accept ordinance number 4-2023.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody's help.
Make sure you sign on the west side.
Yeah, I do was it that did that.
Do we need to officially close this public meeting, or we're just
We're done.
continuing? Okay.
Yep, next item.
All right, the next item would be the minutes and adjustments. Does
Well,
anyone have a chance?
I will just, I record that, and then you'll get a copy of that.
So when
So
do I pay you for your time?
when I'll send you my bill. As
Oh,
well.
okay, okay, I didn't know that was for
You
sure.
don't want to forget that part.
I will not forget
Well, I'm gonna check with everyone.
that. That's all right. I'm new. I know we are.
All right, everyone had a chance to look over the minutes and adjustments. I'll seek approval, and everyone,
I'll make a
someone
motion to
feels.
accept the minutes and.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Right.
Motion passes. The police report, I'll read down through it. There was a total of 28 calls. There was 1 alarm, there was 2 business checks, there was 1 cardiac arrest, a civil dispute, 2 community policings, 1 investigation of a burglary, 1 just plain investigation, had 1 juvenile problem, had 1 accident that was a hit and run, had another accident that was a property damage. I had 1 recovered property call, had 2 shopliftings, had 1 speak with an officer, 1 special patrol, had 3 traffic stops, 1 unwanted person, 1 vehicle lockout, 5 welfare checks, and 1 wires down call, for a total of 28. Any questions over that? You want to give the fire report, sir?
Zero ALS, BLS 229, 911s with Reed, 6, 0 fire runs, and 2,800 gallons of water.
Any questions over the fire report? The superintendent report, we don't have our superintendent with us tonight. He did leave a building report with us. There's 5 items on there.
1 is new.
Number 5 is now.
Number
5 is new. Okay. It's interesting, the cost of the roofs, how much they vary.
This one, a family member is going to be doing it, so basically that's for material.
Nice.
Helps
Anybody
out.
familiar with that? All right, on the list. Do you know if Lenny was sick, or do you think he's playing ball?
Supposed to be playing ball.
Okay. All right, do you happen to know if the service truck got fixed yet? You would have seen the bill, I'm sure.
I haven't had a bill for that, so I don't think it's been fixed yet. No.
Okay. And then the fence, I'm pretty sure has been replaced at the
Yes.
cemetery. And hopefully he talked to Ryan about weed eating under it. If not, we'll remind him to do that. I do know that he's working on some street lights and trying to get all them back to par. Of course, they got the banners hung up before Memorial Day. They've been working down in the park, weed eating and so forth for the ball season, so.
The other day they went to Strong. Strong had asked us if we could take their Christmas lights down. And of course, they went over there on a day that they were paving. So they weren't able to do that. Had to make some repairs to the bucket truck. The fuel pump that we put in went out, so we had to take it out, and he had another one. So he was able to replace that with one that he had in stock, and we were good there.
Very good. Okay. Well, it looks to me like, basically Lenny is the only one testing water. I wondered if he was any closer to gaining his certification, yes.
I think it's just a matter of him scheduling the retest, so. I think it's basically on his ball court, so.
I think we need to try to push that a little bit. Did we set a deadline for that?
It's kind of hard to set a deadline because some of that he has to put in a request with the state, and then the state comes back and gives him the letter that he can take to IU East, and so he can't do anything until he gets that.
Somebody needs to be pursuing.
Yes,
And I think it's on him to pursue that.
yes.
But when we hired him, he was given a time period in order to get that licensing done.
Right.
And so I hadn't heard anything about that for a while, and I would like for that to be to his attention for the fact that we're paying extra money each month until he gets that. So it does need to be put on notice. So,
I know that when they have classes, online classes that he's been trying to take, those are free refresher courses until he gets that letter. He has been doing those on a regular basis to try and help out with that. He did go up last week and to Purdue for the spring, and once he gets that certification to be able to spray the weeds, then he can add on to that for the mosquito control. And him and Nick were supposed to do that. Nick had an emergency and didn't feel comfortable leaving town, so he's going to do his at a later time. But he did get that part of it done.
Julie, I appreciate you being on top of everything all the time. And it seems like when there's questions, you're always able to answer it accurately, and I appreciate that. Is Nick not testing water at all? I looked through their daily things, and it looked like that all except for one day, I didn't see anything that Nick was
He
doing.
has it, sometimes on the weekends they share them. Sometimes Lenny does both of them on the weekends, but not through the week. Lenny does all the testing through the week, and then Nick will, I know he has to go out and drive up and down all the streets, see what's going on. The last 2 days he's been reading meters and that, so he has, and then him and Teddy will mow, so he has other things that he has to do.
Well, I had thought that when we hired them, that they were both pursuing that water certification. And
I'm not sure Nick's really been pursuing it though. He's not getting any classes that I know
Was doing
of.
one at a time, my understanding. Lenny was doing the biggest part of it, and then once he got it, I don't know, I'll have to ask.
Looking at the time card, you can see where Nick had some testing on certain
on
weekends.
weekends, right?
Yeah.
I only seen it twice on his report. That's why I asked. Okay.
All right, you have the vehicle and HR reports in front of you. Julie, have anything to add to those? Any questions from the board for Julie?
No, I don't have anything on my regular items. The next group of papers that you have are our project worksheets for the help grant that we applied through for the county. And there are 3 different programs that we and projects that we are working with on 3 different pots of money. The one that had the Okra 30% match is the one that we dedicated the 30% of our ARPA funds for. That is the sidewalks, and the cost of just doing the sidewalks came in at $964,487.
That's crazy.
And yes, I chose 3 that we could, trying to get as many as we can with the money that we can. That came to $114,809. With our funds, our ARPA funds, that's $50,787. And so we are looking for $64,022 in assistance with that from the counties or the states funding on that one. The other one is the water infrastructure. This one is with that $1 million extra grant that we qualify for because we have our low to moderate income puts us in that. So that project cost, and I didn't put in everything since we are getting a grant for the biggest part of that, but the water meters, valves, hydrant replacement, possibly the GIS system for the mains and valves, and possibly the security system for the well house. Those totaled $301,500. I put that the town would be able to come up with $5,000 towards that. And so we are looking for the LMI or CDBG, I guess is where it comes from, to help out with that. That's $296,500. But again, I will say that this is also included in the Okra and USDA grant that we are applying for. But the way I worded it on here is more than likely we won't get everything that we apply for that. And if these items can help keep our rates lower, then it's worth trying to find other funding. The last one is the creating places that Nathan was working on. We did get quotes for pour in place under all of our playground equipment. That was crazy too. That actually came for the total $245,000. Just the two play areas, one was $90,000 and one was $37,000. This is a $100,000 max grant. I didn't realize that when I started this project. I didn't read enough. So in doing the large one, which needs it more than anything, we put the $90,000, and then we just put $10,000 more under various other pieces of equipment to get us up to the $100,000. We felt that we could come up with $7,000 in donations on our own. The county could come up with $10,000 match. We get from IHCDA $50,000 because it's a 50-50 match. And then from private donations, the county will also help with getting us the other $33,000. So that's where we're at. So if we can get all those, we're, this is really helping these small communities.
Absolutely.
So,
Do we need to act on any of these tonight?
No.
Or just for information
no,
purposes?
I have a meeting Thursday. All this had to be done. Spoke with Jeff today, and he helped walk me through. I had some things backwards on there, so he helped me walk through all that, and we got that submitted, and we will be doing the next portion of the voting on all that Thursday.
And then we would know an answer at that point, or still?
I doubt it. It's still a process, but we're getting down to the final, maybe the final 2 votes or something like that. We're getting close.
I guess my big question is, as far as the creating places, when would that magical date start that we need to create or start getting our donations in? Or can we start doing it now?
I don't know why we can't start doing it now, but I will check with Beth tomorrow just to be.
I don't want to get
Sure.
in trouble.
I want to add, if you collect donations, and it's designated for a specific purpose, it cannot be used for any other purpose.
Right.
So if you collect that donation for this and then we don't get that, then it wouldn't.
Well,
be
and that's my
used.
next question is, how would that check be addressed? Does it actually go to a specific fund, or does it go into the town of Dublin? Is the county taking the funds?
It would go in a specific fund under the ARPA program. We have a line item for ARPA, and it would.
So it would be made out to the town of Dublin?
Yeah, I think that initially go to Dublin, then you guys can put it into whatever fund or joint.
Right, but it would have to go under that set. It's not going to go in our general fund. It has to go under a specific
Now, can they call that a tax deductible donation?
They can't, if it's made to the town of Dublin, a municipality is treated the same as a 501c3, so it is a charitable deduction.
Okay. I'm sure all those questions will be asked.
Mhm.
Anything else, board? Fine job once again, Julie.
Yes, it is. I appreciate your efforts. Are we going to create, how are you gonna approach the fundraising?
Well, usually handshakes and talking in person is the best avenue.
Okay.
A lot of times when you send a letter to somebody, they just pitch it.
Well, I'm not talking about that. Tracking is what I'm talking about. I had suggested at one point a spreadsheet with different organizations or businesses on there that should be approached. The other thing that I might add is that if you go in asking for a specific amount of money, that's sometimes helpful to get towards our goal. So that was the two little tidbits that I wanted to offer towards that. Create a spreadsheet. Probably should keep it in the town hall with that, with those potential donors who we would like to approach, and try to come up with a dollar amount.
Sure. Bob, would, as far as their deductible donation, would it be appropriate to actually have a physical letter that they can keep in files?
Oh, yeah,
Or
you
is there just their-
because any donation also has to be formally accepted. So after they make that, you could do it maybe en masse, so you don't have to have a special meeting each day of the month that somebody donates it, but then at the end of the month, have a formal approving and accepting that donation, and then yes, I would then immediately write them a letter thanking them, of course, and then saying this is a receipt for it.
I'm just actually more thinking of like the request letter. Would that be sufficient enough if we had that already prepared in hand? Or do you think the thank you letter?
Well, for people's protection, I always see that they'll put a thing that you don't want to be the one representing it to them. Always say that it's your belief, but if they ever have questions, they need to check their own accountant on whether it is a tax deductible gift. So you might want to put that on the request, but then the thing that you are almost, I think by law, required to is then to give them an acknowledgement once they make the donation, so.
A written acknowledgement.
It would be sufficient, or I guess appropriate, to put the actual amount in the verbiage that they donated for record keeping, or does that make a difference?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you want to, different receipts can be for $5 or $5,000.
Well, I'm just thinking that thank you letter, we thank you, company A, B, and C, because you donated $50 to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's, you would have a place to put the amount, you'd have the thank you in there, and have to show that this is, a formalized receipt for your donation, so.
Checks would be made out to the
Town
town.
of Dublin, yes.
Just put like creative places in the memo line.
Well, let's work on this a little bit more at the workshop, at our workshop meeting.
I'd say it's a matter of knocking on doors and shaking hands, so.
I would like to also think about getting some, like window clings or something towards, that they would receive, the donors would receive if they donated. I can't think right offhand what it should say, but something about contributor to whatever.
Like a public sign of thank you.
Yeah.
Would you put, if it was some kind of plaque or brick, would you put a floor on that as far as how much they had to give to get to that level or not?
What's something we can talk about,
Yeah.
but, yeah.
And to Pam's earlier point, which was good, is there any chance that you get these donations and for some reason the project still doesn't go through, and therefore, since it can only be used for what they are saying, you'd have to give it back, because that could alter that donation, that charitable deduction. But is that ever anticipated, possible?
He made it sound like when I was on a Zoom meeting with Jeff, that this creating places has never been denied or turned down anytime that anybody he knows that has applied for it.
Well,
So-
I'm a little bit cautious about that because every presentation that we've had has been pushed back or changed or pushed back and changed. So I would be very apprehensive if it didn't change in some way. The guarantees that they put out there when they're trying to get you to participate surely is different than what the actual deed is when it comes around to doing it.
Well, quite honestly, I believe this is the first time the town has ever went toward this particular one, so it's new to all of us sitting at this table, so.
This whole health thing, that has to do with all three of these. This is something new for the county. The county has never done it either, so everybody is. And that's, you know, where I kind of get frustrated, and not that anybody's, you know, they're doing the best that they can, but like if you're working with a grant administrator on a specific grant, you have that person who has done it before and can help lead you through, and we're all in the same boat where none of us really know, and we're just, you know, all we have is the papers that tell us what to do, and some of that is interpretation, so
Right.
it can be. But when I spoke to Jeff today, he was saying that he wanted to make sure whatever we thought we were comfortable with getting, that they wanted to make sure that they could help us get the rest of that, which is the other 33,000, to put us up at the max, because they want us to get the max. So the county is willing to help out with that. And I will state for the record that those funds, those matching funds that aren't the 10,000, because the 10,000 from the county is coming out of the county's ARPA money. The additional funds that the communities are getting, and I think there's 4 or 5 of us that are the only ones that, well, oh, no, that's the other fund, excuse me. The other money that's coming in for that is from donations from corporations. They've already got donations from Sugar Creek. I believe they have donations from DOTS, from the EDC. They've got like 4 or 5 big donations for this pot of money. Now, does that mean that they won't give us our own? I can't say that. I'd say they probably know how the project works and would allow them to be able to give us money too, but just so we know that.
Clear as mud.
Yep, it sure is. Sure is.
Okay, any other questions on the potential grants we're looking at? Okay.
We'll add it to the agenda for the work session. We will also be discussing our budget, having our budget work session as well.
That sounds exciting.
Oh, yeah.
You guys get to have all the fun.
Now, I will say back to your question, I thought
Which one?
of one thing, as far as when we can start. They may have you wait until for sure that we're in the final. I'm assuming with that one, that's not the same as our other one where they're picking and choosing.
Right.
But we'll wait until Thursday when I find more information, just to make sure before we start asking.
You'll definitely know by the
I should
workshop, so
should know that, yes.
half of that answer. And if nothing else, maybe we can just get pledges, you know, when the time starts, so.
That's what I did too.
All right, going into old business. What do we know about the community club doors? Who was making that phone call? Was that a Lenny or was that a Julie?
I think it was Lenny.
I know they have not been fixed yet, so
Okay.
hopefully he's in the process of making that phone call if he had to Larry Allen.
Yeah, because I thought he talked to him during our work, right after our work session. But I will remind him.
Yeah, that probably needs to get on the schedule.
Okay.
Especially when the pub's gonna be closed down for a short period, other than parties.
All right, anything else under general old business? Anybody can think of?
How's the paving and the sidewalks? I know they work on the sidewalks.
They've worked on the ramps, and that's a different group than the other, but I haven't gotten any new locates.
Okay.
for the street stuff, but I did get it for all the ramp areas, so, it's coming.
Okay.
But I haven't talked to anyone from the project. I don't know if Lenny has or not, to know
Okay.
when we're starting with the next project.
Okay, going into general new business, nothing else underneath that. One thing I will pass along, it's not necessarily business, it's more of informational purposes. The community club is having they're calling it a summer bash. Basically just trying to get the community club more community oriented like it was back in the day. Not necessarily just a skating rink, but that'll be on July the 29th. From 11 to 4 is the actual main event. That will include live music, food on the grill, indoor and outdoor activities, and whatever else they're dreaming up as we speak. And then after that, they are going to have a skate that night from 6 to 9. So basically it'll be an all-day event down in the park area. So that's about all I can tell you at the moment. I do know they are seeking donations themselves to help pay for the food and so forth, so.
Can we see our way to make a donation towards that?
I know 150 was like the max amount that would get your name on the banner or whatever they were doing, so.
All right.
If we wanted to go that route.
I think we do. I move that we donate $150 to the community
Club.
club
Dublin
for
Community Club.
to be used towards the
Summer bash.
community black bass.
Summer bash.
Summer bash, whatever. Yeah.
We
Community summer bash.
It would go to the community club.
Marguerite.
Marguerite.
Me want to do, then that would do.
Yeah, Marguerite still takes the money. Jimmy Lawrence is the president, even though he doesn't live in town, but Marguerite would probably be the easiest thing to do. Other than that, you know, anytime you see cars down there, you know they're having a party. I'm just going to give it to one of the persons down there because they've got a pretty active board now. Everybody pretty much is on the same page, so things have been going really smooth.
I'm so far out of touch with that.
They've had some really good skates. Of course, it really lightened up here as school ends, so they're having a summer
A lot of
break.
memories of that place. I'd love to see it stay.
We all do.
They're still waiting to get the final results of the St. Jude's skate they had this past Saturday. I know it was around 4,000 anyway, but they're still had a few more donations coming in, so I think that was pretty normal where they're usually at, around 4 to 5. Their goal was 7, but it was a little bit high, I think, compared to usual years, so, but it went pretty normal.
I second Pam's motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion passes. I don't have anything else under new business unless you guys do.
I don't,
Are you needing to, you had sent me things to look at. One was that amendment number 6 to the Western Engineering Wellhead Protection Service. Does that need to be addressed?
Yeah, we can approve that tonight.
Oh, it looks like it's amending it for the next 5 years for them to assist with doing the necessary work for IDEM each year. They give you an estimated fee per year of $2,000 for 23, 2024, $1,500. For some reason goes down in 25 and 26, but then jumps up to $2,500 in 27 and 28 for. And the other thing, I'm not sure, it's for 5 years, but then they give you 6 years of fees for a total of $12,000. And they point out these are just estimates, but it also says that if it ever goes above that, you have to give prior approval, so it's kind of a cap as well. So I don't know how that compares to the yearly fee you're paying them now for that necessary inspection.
It did not change.
Did not change?
and this is for the CCR report and other thing, okay. I make a motion we accept their bid.
Amendment.
What was it for again?
The consumer
Confidence
confidence.
report.
Yeah,
Consumer
CCR.
response report. Okay. And is this who we've always used?
Yes.
Yes.
And there wasn't really any other options. How quickly do we need this?
No, there are no other options for, they do our wellhead protection and they do this. If we go out, we would have to start, like as soon as the CCR has to be turned in July 1st, we would have to start, because we would have to do request PERs for request to get new people. And I don't think they would be as cheap as this because they have all of our information and we use them for both as it is.
Okay. Well, I'm not gonna drag my feet on this one this time, but I think that in future, we should always try to take a look at other options other than what's always been.
Okay.
So, I will second Rex's motion that we accept it.
All right, a motion and a second, all in favor, aye, to accept the CCR report for Westler.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? Motion passes.
And the other thing is, I think I've seen one of these before, and Nathan may know more about it, is for the alternate energy between Dublin Municipal Light and Water Utility and Richard Law, Jill Plank. This looks like it's standard. It's where, I guess, they do that, and therefore, do they not have to then pay for their normal electricity charges? Is that the?
They still pay for, they have 2 meters on it, and it is because they have solar panels on their home. We only have one residence in town that has this. And we had this with the previous owner, and they've sold the house. But basically, they paid for basic, it is.
Oh, so it's even the same house?
Yes, it's the exact same house, but basically they pay for so much usage, and then any over that feeds into that second meter, which is from the solar panels, then that reading is given to IMPA, and IMPA reimburses them for what their usage off the solar panels.
So if
We
they
do not.
generate so much that
Yes.
it's excess that INPA can use, then INPA will pay them a reduced amount. Okay.
And I don't know how much that is, but
Probably rare.
I would guess
it's not,
rare.
yeah, their usage.
But it has a normal insurance requirements in it, indemnification provisions in that they can terminate at any time with 60 days notice in case they get rid of their solar panels, I'm presuming. You can terminate it if they don't do something that they were supposed to do by this, so that's why it appeared to be standard, but I knew we'd only done one, but I didn't realize it was actually the same house. So
Yes.
I would have no objection to that if you want to approve that.
Are you needing a motion on this because it didn't make the agenda, so I didn't know what the story was?
We don't need a motion on it. I needed Bob to look it over before I sent it to them. They will need to look it over. Once they sign it, then it comes back for you guys' approval. Because that's actually their application for that program.
So just informational purposes at this
Yes.
point.
It looks fine to you to send it to.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other new business? All right, we'll look at the claims. Accept the motion whenever ready.
Good night, all. I got to get
Thank you, sir.
Thanks
Enjoy
a
the
lot.
new land.
Appreciate it. See you next meeting.
I make a motion to accept the claims as presented.
All right, there's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes to pay the bills. All right, financial report. Anything out of the ordinary, Julie?
No.
I make a motion we accept the financial report as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
You
Motion
will see
passes.
under, okay, hang on, Rex.
Oh.
You will see under the federal grants, we did receive the state's portion of the NDOT, the paving grant. That revenue came in. And so when they get started with that, that's what that's for. Other than that, nothing's different.
All right, that motion passes. Nothing else? We'll seek adjournment.
So moved.
All right, motion passes. We'll sign a few papers on the way out.